Good morning, She Sings Out Loud Sisterhood. I want to talk to you today about prioritizing your creative time, your music practice, and your self-care when life feels difficult. For me, the seasonal change of fall here in the Northern Hemisphere is really challenging. It takes, kind of sucks my energy. I deal with a lot of allergies, so I've been just physically really struggling the last couple of weeks, and I've also had a few personal things come up. My dog died. My dog passed away. My amazing little, still a puppy, felt like a puppy, but she was 13 years old and she passed away, and there's been kind of some other things coming up. And so just in full authenticity, just wanted to come on here and to share with you the ways that I've been kind of working with some personal circumstances, my physical body feeling really challenged, and also just really feeling the world. I feel like I've been just processing so much of what's happening globally with the fires in the West and up here in the US, and all of the systemic racism, and there's just been so much that has been on my mind and heart, and that I feel like in some ways I've been sort of taking in so much that it's causing me to just feel really exhausted and really struggling in my body. So that's my full, just authentic share with all of you, because I don't hide. I'm just real with you. So I wanted to just share a little bit about the ways that I'm supporting myself in these times, and I know that we're all really struggling in various ways, just such an intense time in our world. And I'm also just want to pose kind of a series of questions for you to sort of investigate, because I really feel that we all carry the wisdom within us. So I'm going to share with you some ways that I've been thinking about this and working with. And also I know that you have so many tools at your disposal. You are so wise. And if you are able to really check in with yourself, with your being, and especially with your core, which is where our intuition and where our soul sound lives, and you're able to really listen to that deeper self, I know that you will find a way forward in whatever you might be struggling with in this time. And if you're not struggling and life is rocking for you, that is amazing, and I just wish you well, and like let us we can all soak up some of that energy from you if you want to jump on here and just share what's working really well for you. So this is not that we have to feel bad or have to be struggling, but I know many of us are, so wanted to just come on here and talk about that. So first of all, seasonal change is really tricky and can take a lot, can be very taxing on our body. So I think that it's a perfect time to really ground into our priorities. Hello, thanks for being here live. If you want to pop into the comments and let me know who's watching, I always love to see that. It doesn't show me your name all the time, but thanks for being here. So it's really important to ground into our priorities during times of seasonal change and times when things are just a little bit difficult, and really readjust our expectations of ourselves. So I really think that sometimes when we have a really hard goal, like I want to finish my album by X date, or I'm going to put out a song by this date, or for me, it's even like things that can feel tricky is showing up live here, right? Like I have this commitment to be live with you every Tuesday at 11:30, and things like that can start to occur as challenging to show up for when we are struggling with our physical body, when we're going through some kind of difficult time or seasonal change. And so it's really important to ground into priorities and to really readjust our expectations and look really carefully at where we are willing to show up, what actually serves us and gives us energy to show up, and where is showing up kind of zapping our energy, and maybe it's not actually needed or it's not appropriate. So for me, I'm really clear that when I show up, hi Katie! Great to have you here. When I show up for you on Tuesdays at 11:30, this gives me energy because it's a time for me to share what I'm thinking about, and I feel connected with all of you. And so I'm really clear that that's a priority. But there are other things in my life. I chose to not go to a protest yesterday that I really wanted to go to and felt strongly about being there and being a physical presence at this protest. And I could just feel, though, that in my whole body, I really needed to rest and take care of myself. And that was a really difficult choice. And I still, am working out my own kind of guilt around it, and just this feeling of inadequacy that can come up when we have to say no and we can't show up. but it is so important that we really honor what we're capable of and we honor our priorities, because if we are pushing ourselves and trying to show up everywhere we want to and everywhere we think we're supposed to, we are going to burn out, we are going to deplete ourselves, and we're actually not going to be able to be of service. So this is a hard choice, but it's really, really important to ground into your priorities. And when you're thinking about your priorities, I want you to consider that front and center is your own creative work. That for me, I know when I am stop showing up for my creative work as the number one priority in my life, I am no help to anybody. I cannot be of service. I am a cranky pants and I ultimately end up often getting sick. Okay, that's just how it works. When I am not moving energy through my body, through my own singing, the energy gets really stuck inside. So whatever is going on in your life, wherever you're feeling like you're being pulled in many directions, I want you to just consider that if you can prioritize your creative time, that is actually going to give you energy. It's going to move the stuck energy that in your body that may be creating physical pain, illness, exhaustion. It's actually a way to release all of that, to move through emotion, to move through any way that you are feeling stuck or shut down, and it's actually going to allow you to be more available to other people. So this can be really hard to set those boundaries with others, to say this is my priority and I'm taking this time, and it can be really challenging to set that boundary with yourself. So I came up on this big time the last couple of weeks. I just felt like I was being pulled everywhere, and I put my music on the kind of back burner, and I just said, okay, I'm just gonna I can't show up for my music right now. I'm just gonna handle these things, and then I'll show up for my music. And what happened? I ended up in bed for a whole day, just totally burned out and exhausted, and feeling like, for me it was allergies. It's not COVID or anything, but I just had such bad allergies that I could barely function for this day, and I had to cancel some lessons for my students, and it impacted other people, is the point. That even though I decided, okay, I'm going to not do this for myself and I'm going to show up for everyone else, it actually had a negative impact on others because I was not able to sustain that. And it is my creative work and it's my meditation practices that actually give me energy and make me more available to others. So just want you to really consider that, because I know that I think as women and femme people in particular, we really struggle to prioritize ourselves, our self-care, our creative work, our music, and we tend to put others first. And it's so important that we reverse that so that we're able to be even more available to others. Okay, so it's not always easy to do this, but I think it is possible. Even if life feels out of control, even if life feels really busy, even if you're pulled in a million directions, I think it is possible to just find in that some space to just show up, even if it's for half an hour, even if it's for a small amount of time for yourself, and you'll find that in moving energy through your body with your own music, you will be more available to others. Okay, so that brings me to the second question, or maybe it's the first question, I lost track. I said I was going to pose a series of questions. So one question is, how can your music actually be a healing tool for you? And even more specific, how can your music actually support your body when your body is physically struggling? So how the act of making sound and being creative, how is that going to actually open up more energy, open up more space in your physical body where things are shut down, open up more space in your emotional body, all of that. I just want you to kind of look for yourself, because I think you'll find the answer. And I want to encourage you, as you're thinking about your music practice this week, to really follow the thread of inspiration, to allow yourself to go towards what feels really good and really nourishing, and maybe, especially if you're in a place of struggle, to let go of the things that you think you need to do or you're supposed to do. So there is a time and place for really consistent technique practice, for making sure you're doing what you need to do to forward a project. That is important. But I think that if you're in a place of struggle, and if you're not, then maybe do the technique stuff. But if you're in a place of struggling physically, emotionally, mentally, anything like that, then it's really important to allow your music time to nourish you. So what is it that's going to nourish you, and what is it that is going to help you move energy in your body and in your emotions? And how can you just do what feels really, really good? And this is important. I think if you do the things that feel really good, then you might find that there's maybe more time and space for the things that you think you're supposed to do, right? If you really do need to do them, but starting with what feels really, really good. So the other question I want to pose to you is, how can you balance your inward time and your outward time? So I think even in this time when we are less involved physically with one another, many of us are still at home. I've been completely working at home for the first time in years. I used to go to a separate studio to teach often. I'm completely working mostly online with my students, and I'm home. And yet, I still often feel that I'm really pulled out. In some ways, there are more demands because it's so easy to do Zoom calls with people, and people are kind of hungry for more time and more attention, which I love. I'm so grateful for the people in my life that I get to connect with, and it can be a lot. So how do you balance this inward time, this outward time? And just consider, if you are feeling out of balance, what's one simple thing you can put in place? So you might not be able to completely have the amount of inward time and time for yourself that you want, but what is one tiny shift that you could make in order to honor more of that inward time? Let's see here. So the other question, the last question is, how can you show up as you are right now, not needing to be a certain way? So I think this is another way that we tend to deplete ourselves, is that we try to always have it all together, right? And I had a moment this morning where I thought, oh my gosh, I can't show up for the live stream. I can't show up at 11:30 for this live stream because I woke up with a headache from my allergies and my ears all clogged, and I was just really feeling not great in my body. And I thought, how am I going to show up? But I realized that feeling of not being able to show up for you all this morning was coming from feeling like I had to show up for a certain way, feeling like I had to show up, having it all together, having this great training prepared for you and giving you all this stuff. And when I just dropped that and I decided to just show up and share about what I've been going through and how I've been feeling and the tools that I've been finding in order to work with it, all of a sudden I felt energized. I felt even my ear is right now as I'm talking is actually starting to clear up. It's kind of amazing. It's magical. Just being with you, being authentic, not trying to be a certain way is helping things move energetically, and I'm physically feeling a lot better. You can probably still hear my voice is a little strained today. So that's really important. How can you show up as you are and not need to be a certain way? So if you are really tired, how can you just show up tired? How can you allow yourself to be more in your body and connected instead of having to put your energy out? How can you just kind of stay with yourself even as you're having to engage with others? It's just something to ponder and something to work with, that we don't always have to push and we don't always have to strive so hard or do it perfectly or do it the way we normally do it, right? This is an opportunity to find a new way in, and chances are it's actually going to be more impactful and more powerful for you and for others, because what we crave most in our world as human beings is authenticity. So when we can show up and just be real and be open and just as we are, then we are actually creating more possibility for connection and for transformation when we are in relationship and when we are interacting with others. Okay, so that is the final question. How can you show up as you are right now, not needing to be a certain way? How can you use your music as a tool for healing, to move energy through your body? Okay, those are the big things to ponder on this. Okay, that's everything that I have for you. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Please share in the comments what you're taking away from this. How are your answer to these questions? What are you finding that you can really be doing to take care of yourself if you've been struggling physically, emotionally, mentally? And please also let me know, what would you like me to be offering you? So this group is for you, and I would love to be talking about things that are on your mind. If you have questions, if you're needing support with something, please let me know what you would like to happen on these live trainings, and I would be happy to offer that to you. Much love. Have a lovely week of self-care and of prioritizing your music as an act of service.